So Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arwakwa, died, but who gets Gene Hackman's $80 million estate? Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Barrett McNabb. So it's kind of interesting. I am a criminal justice major, and when I took a class called Courts and Criminal Procedure, we talked about the hearsay rule. And while this case with Gene Hackman doesn't have anything to do with the hearsay rule, the story in explaining it brought back a huge amount of memories from that course. And the definition of hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered in court to prove the truth of the matter asserted. Now, the story that the professor told was a true story about a husband and wife that died. They were in their second marriages. So the husband had previously been married and had 2 children with his previous wife. His current wife had a previous marriage where she had 2 children as well, and they were all living together. Now, the husband, in his will, he left everything to his wife. And in the wife's will, she left everything to her children. Okay, so this is very important. And of course, the class bemoaned, why is it that men, when they remarry, take care of their wives, thinking that their wife is going to take care of their biological children, instead of saying, look, my wife gets 50%, my children get 50%. But he didn't. He had everything go to his wife. And the assumption was that she was going to use his resources to take care of his biological children, whereas in her will, everything went to her biological children solely and left out her husband's biological children. Now, they were on an airplane and it crashed. And as the first responders are going through the wreckage, they came across the wife's body and she was dead. She was dead. They checked her pulse. She was dead. Then they came across the man, and the man looked up at the first responders and said, I'm alive, help me. And then he died. Now, what the children of the father was trying to prove in court was that he died last. She died first, and therefore all of her assets went to her children, and the community property assets would still remain 50-50, which means that some of those assets would belong to the husband, i.e. the father. And the biological children said the reason that they could tell that their father died last is because he said, I'm alive, help me. Now, what the children of the wife was trying to say is that was hearsay, an out-of-court statement offered in court to prove the truth of the matter asserted. Now, the interesting thing is the judge decided that was considered a dying declaration, and dying declarations can be admitted into court. And the whole purpose of this hearsay argument for the court and criminal procedure class that I was taking was that if, say, someone is shot and the police get there, and the person with their dying breath says, little Johnny shot me in the chest, and then dies. Well, that statement, also being a dying declaration, can be admitted and bypasses the hearsay rule. So that was kind of really interesting in that class. And I've remembered that for 25 years, that story. And so it really kind of brought those memories back when I hear about the death of Gene Hackman and his wife, and how they died. Now, Gene Hackman, I don't have it in front of me. I think he was 95 years old, and she was in her upper 60s, and she was taking care of him. Now, Gene Hackman, unfortunately, had advanced Alzheimer's and hadn't really been seen in public, recently. And so she was, God bless her, taking care of her husband, Gene Hackman, to the best she could. So anyway, before we get into the details of their death, Gene Hackman has 3 children. However, in his will, he left $80 million to his wife. And that is significant because he did not mention his children in the will at all. 100% of his money went to take care of his wife. And in her will, she gave her entire estate to charity. All of it. Nothing went to the children. And so the interesting thing is that the medical examiners find out that she had contracted a viral disease and died, and was in the bathroom area and had passed away. And Gene Hackman, having his advanced Alzheimer's, wandered around the house for up to 7 days by himself, and then eventually died due to heart disease. So he probably was extremely dehydrated, which exacerbated his coronary disease that he had, and then he passed away. And the medical examiners, due to decomposition rates, can tell who died first and who died last. So in this particular instance, it's similar to the airplane story that I told you about, because Gene Hackman's children are claiming that when the stepmother died, her estate, as it was, went to charity, and then their father was alive and unencumbered by the will at this point in time, because he did not have a wife at that time. She was deceased. And so they're saying that they should be able to get the $80 million and disperse it amongst themselves, and bypass Gene Hackman's wish to have it go to his wife, and then her wish to have all of it go to charity. And so in this particular instance, it's interesting and it matters on who died first. And in this case, the medical examiner can truly say that Gene Hackman's wife died, therefore her will is executed as it was in the monetary amounts that she had in her estate at the time, her bank accounts and her stocks and things like that. But that Gene Hackman, being alive, is now unencumbered by his will. And the children, I guess, presumably are going to be the executors, potentially, of his estate. And I can only, lo and behold, imagine what they're going to do. So obviously this is a very sad story, a very tough last week of Gene Hackman's life. But just to look at it from an interesting legal standpoint of it mattering what wills each person has in a marriage and when in the order of their deaths. Now, he was assuming that she was going to live for a very long time because she was 30 some odd years younger than he was. And so, the expectation is that she was going to have a long life as well, and that she would be able to utilize that money. And with her dying first, it really threw this estate on its head. So I'm definitely interested in seeing how this is going to pertain. And it's amazing how this can just recall a story from a class when I was in college getting my Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice. It just really is amazing to see how that brings those airplane story memories back, as it pertains to hearsay. Again, this particular Gene Hackman story doesn't have anything to do with hearsay, but it was the fact that it was important on whether the husband or the wife in the airplane died first, which one died first, because 100% of the man was going to go to the woman and then cut out his children altogether. So it was super interesting. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Should the children that were cut out of the will receive this money? Is that what the law says? In fact, if there's an attorney that's watching, I'd love to know if there's an estate attorney that would have greater clarity. Leave that in the comments below, and I'll make a video based upon those comments. So thanks so much for tuning into Azimuth Podcast, and please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.